Okay, we now have our Linux system booted here and a terminal open, and we're going to start to learn the command line interface with our first command. The first command, I'm going to use the manual page to show you what it is before we use it. The command is called pwd, and it prints the name of the current or working directory. And it has some options here, okay, and you are certainly welcome to read about that. We're not going to do it today, but the main thing to know is you can type pwd, and it doesn't require any options. The square brackets mean optional options, okay? So we just type pwd, press enter, and it should tell us the name of the current working directory. So I'll type Q to exit the manual, and type pwd, and let's see where, when we bring up a terminal window, what is the default place where we are. And the place is a place within the file hierarchy that is called /home/Perry. And that's the way I'll pronounce that. It's a / in Linux for directories and subdirectories and such, okay? / and this means the first slash there actually refers to a particular directory which is called the root directory. So it's the root of the file system, if you will. And then there is a directory that is beneath the root called home. And then beneath that directory called home, or within it, if you want to think of it that way, there is a directory called Perry. So this is a hierarchy. Think of it like an upside down tree, or maybe of the roots of a tree, where you've got one big root at the top, where it enters the ground, and then it branches out into smaller and smaller tributaries, right? So that's the analogy for the file system. So the working directory that I'm in then is /home/Perry. Yours is /home/ whatever your username is. If you downloaded one of the distributions that had a different desktop, you might have had a default user of Mint, in which case yours will probably say /home/Mint, or whatever it says. But in any case, that's where your files live. So there's print working directory. The second thing, second command that I want to teach to you today is the ls command. And I'll type man ls to show you the manual page. And what you're going to find here is that there's an enormous amount of stuff under ls, but what does it do? List directory contents. So this says, okay, in this current working directory where I am, or the one that I specify, what are the contents of this thing? Are there any files or directories or things that are contained within this? And so you see the synopsis here. We have ls followed by possibly an option. That square brackets mean it's not required. Okay, possibly more of those repeated, so I could have multiple options, and then possibly a specification of a file. Okay, and possibly more such specifications. So that's the way that we read that. So what does it do? It lists information about the files. Okay, the current directory by default. Sort the entries alphabetically if none of these or these options are specified. Okay, so we'll talk about the options later. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that today, but as I go down here and just kind of look at the list, these are all options that are possible to be appended to this command. Okay, so -a is one, and it can also be typed this way, double dash and the word all. Okay, and it means do not ignore entries starting with period. Okay, we'll talk about what that means a little bit later. But as I look at all of these, then I'm just paging down now. There are lots of options for the ls command. I'll show you some of them this very day. So I'm going to hit Q to quit, and let's see what's in this directory. I'm just going to type ls with no options and with no file specifier, and what I get is a list of things that are inside this directory /home/Perry. So what do I see? Actually, what I see here are a bunch of folders, and I'll show you how we can show that those are indeed folders and make that more clear and more plain here in a moment. But I have a listing of the things that are within the /home/Perry directory. Now you saw that -A already, and let me go ahead and show you what we get with that option. So now, I say ls-a, we see a lot more things. The same things that were there before, like here I had something called desktop and something called document. These, I told you these are directories. Here's desktop and here's documents. But I've also got all of these things that start with a period. Okay, these are hidden files. So if it starts with a period like this one called bash_history. So .bash history is the quick way we would say that, or this is .bashrc, or this is .cache. Those are hidden files. Sometimes you want to see hidden files, that is, don't let them be hidden from me. And sometimes you want them hidden because you notice it really clutters up the display. And most of the time, it's not necessary for us to see those things unless we need to. Okay, so ls-a is a way to say, show me the hidden files as well. In addition, we have these two very special things right here. One of them is a single dot, single period. The other one is a double period that you see right here. And those are special aliases for certain directories. The dot, it turns out, is an alias for the current working directory. So in this case, /home/Perry. The dot is an alias for the directory that contains the current directory. And that directory would be the directory called /home. So /home/Perry is contained within /home. And /home is contained within /, which is otherwise known as the root. Okay, the root of the file system. So why is that important? Well, because we need to learn how to be able to specify things that are in different directories from the one where we currently are. One of the most obvious ways that we can use this is that we can start to navigate around the directory structure. So for example, I can go to the directory that contains the current directory by using I'm going to use the change directory command cd. And unfortunately, I typed man cd earlier and there's no manual page for the change directory command. Go figure. There's no reason that it shouldn't be there and others should, I guess, but anyway, it's not. But cd changes the directory. So if I type cd and ... what that means is change directory to the directory that contains the current working directory. What is the current working directory? It's right here, /home/Perry. I typed pwd and it told me that, right? So cd ... and now I'm in a different directory. How do I know that? I can type pwd and I'll see that I'm in the /home directory. That's the one that contains the /Perry directory. If I were to list the things that are in the home directory, I see that there is a single entry. It's a directory called Perry. Okay, does that make sense? If I now cd to the Perry directory from within the /home directory, and then type pwd, then you'll see that I'm back in the home/Perry directory. Now, one thing you'll notice, let's analyze these few lines right here. When I went up one level from the /home/Perry directory into the /home directory, notice that I got on my prompt this thing that said /home. So I know then that I'm in the home directory, the /home directory, because I can see that. So typing pwd, you see, just gave me the same thing that I already had on the line here, so it was a little superfluous. When I changed back to the Perry directory, though, all that went away, and I just got this symbol right here. See that? That symbol, again, is the tilde, and it refers to a very special directory, which is the /home/Perry directory. So I can see that if I wanted to change directory to go to the home directory, and let's just go up another level. Now I'm at the root directory, but if I change directory tilde, then I'm back in the /home/Perry directory, you see. So make sure you understand what I just said. So another way that we can do this is that we can say go to the containing directory, and I'll do that again. So I'm back at the root, and I could change directory to the /home/Perry Perry directory. And notice it's back to tilde. I'll type pwd so you can be convinced we're in home/Perry. So now I'm going to go back to the root. What's the symbol for the root? It's the single /, right? So I could do it this way. Now I'm back in the root. Okay, I'll convince you of that. And let's change directory to, this time I'm going to do it a little bit differently. And you see we're back at the tilde, which means we're at /home/Perry. Let's look at the difference between some of these. cd tilde and this command right here, cd/home/Perry, are equivalent because tilde is a short way of specifying /home/Perry. No matter where I am in the directory structure, those two commands will take me back to my home directory, /home/Perry. This one is a little bit different as I look at this line where the highlight is currently. Notice there's no / before home right here. So what does that mean? That means that this address or this directory specification is specified from within whatever the current directory is. So I'm saying from wherever I am, find the subdirectory called home and navigate to it, and then navigate to its subdirectory Perry. Now it happens to get us to the same place because we're already at the root, right? But if we were in some other place, that would not work. So for example, let me just show you this. If I go back to the home directory and I say cd home/Perry, you'll see it says no such file or directory. Why? Because I'm within a directory called home and I'm looking for a subdirectory called home. Okay, so in other words, I'm looking for /home/home/Perry. There is no such place. Okay, but if I modify that by putting the /, which means the root, then of course no problem. That gets me there. So what do we call these? This kind of address, this is a relative address or a relative path is the better way to say that. This is a relative path. This is called an absolute path. So if I begin with a /, it's an absolute path. If I don't begin with a /, it's a relative path, relative to where I am. This is absolute to the entire file system because I'm specifying right here with that one little symbol right there, that /. I'm specifying that it's absolute starting from the root. So very, very important distinction that will come up again and again. So if you're trying to navigate the directory structure and you're having this kind of an error happening all the time, you don't know what's going on, that may be what's going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and change directory to the root, and let's see what kind of things are there. I type ls, you see there's a variety of things right there. There are certain things that we can do to make this a little more interesting and possibly a little more useful. So I'm going to show you some of the options we can use with ls. One of them is this option, which is a -l. So ls and then space and then dash, same as the minus symbol, right? And L, and you'll see that I get a very different kind of output here. But it's really the same content. So here's bin, boot, cd-rom, dev, etc. So here's bin, boot, cd-rom, dev, etc. All the same stuff is shown here, but you notice it's way over here in this rightmost column. I also have a few things which kind of have this little arrow type symbol made with a couple of characters, and then something else here. And we'll talk about those things later. But the main thing that I want you to see is the things here that are directories within this root of our file system here. How do I know that they're directories? Well, this little symbol right here actually tells me that that is a directory. So D for directory, L for link. We'll talk about that later. But what else do I have here? Various kinds of information, but how would we find out? How would we learn more about what we're looking at? You know, what's this stuff? This looks like a date, obviously. That maybe is a time, but what is this? What does it actually refer to? How would we find out? Right, let's go to the man page for LS, and let's see what we can find out about the -L option. Okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of page down in here. See, here are my options, right? So I've got LS followed by some number of options followed by the file specifiers. We talked about that. But let's go down here until we find out what that -L actually means. And these should be kind of nominally in order. So there's C, D, F, you know, there's some Fs, I, so we keep going. Here's L. Use a long listing format. Okay, we need more description, don't we? So L means use a long listing format. All right, that's what we saw. So let's see what we can find here. We get down here, there's exit status, author reporting about copyright. Oh, we're almost to the bottom. Where in the world am I going to learn more? We'll look at this. There's a link here for full documentation. Let's click the link, shall we? Oh well, clicking it wasn't very helpful. So let me just select it. I'll say copy. Let's launch a web browser. There we go. There's just a link. I don't need to search. Okay. So here it is. So what I want to know is what information is listed. How about that? Okay, with the different options. So now I'm looking. -L or double dash format equals long, or double dash format equals okay, so what do we get? In addition to the name of each file, it prints the file type, file mode bits, number of hard links, owner name, group name, size, and timestamp. Okay, normally the modification timestamp. So let's look. So the file type is one of these things. We saw D already. Look at that. That means directory. Okay, let's go back to that just so that we see it. I'll quit from there. Yeah, see, notice all of these start with a D. So D is for directory. Okay. L is for a symbolic link. You saw a couple of those. There's one, and there's one. Again, we'll talk about those later. So that's what that stuff means. So the -L gives us long or verbose output to the ls command. And so what we learn here is a variety of things. First of all, the kind of file that we have. D stands for directory. L means symbolic link, which we'll talk about later. But these are all directories. We'll worry about these things later. As we go to the right, we see who the owner of the particular element of the particular node, whether it's a directory or file or whatever, who's the owner of it, and then what group does it belong to, and then how big is it. So this is the number of bytes. So this is taking up 4,096 bytes. And you see some are a little less, some are more, etc., etc. And so those are the file sizes. This is when the thing was last modified. So in this case, January 6th at looks like 2:52 p.m. was when that one was last modified. Okay, so you can learn a lot using the -L option on LS. Another good option to use with LS is -F. We'll see what that looks like. LS-F will show us in a very visual way which things are directories and which things are other kinds of files. So you notice our symbolic links end up with an ampersand after them. The directories end up with a slash after them. And we'll look at others at various times. So now, as I run this command with the -L, capital F, lowercase a, I see that I get all of the content that's in my home directory, including the specifications for the current working directory and the parent directory, and all of the hidden files. If I didn't want to see those two, which exist in every directory and are kind of implied, I could use a capital A there, which means almost everything. I only get the hidden files, but not those two directory specifications, along with all of the directories and whatever other files may exist. And if I didn't want the hidden files, then I would just remove that. I get the same thing. And again, in this case, I have this visual indication of the slash in addition to the different colors that are given. One more command that we'll make use of today that I think may be helpful for demonstrating a few things is the touch command. So the touch command changes the timestamp on a file to whatever the current time is, and if the file argument does not exist, it creates the empty file unless you specify certain additional options to the thing. Okay, so that's enough for us now. I know that I can do a listing of these things. Why don't we just go ahead and create a file by saying touch, I don't know, what do we want to call it? How about Perry1? Okay, and then we'll look at that and we see that there's a new file called Perry1. And if we list it out there, we'll see it's differentiated from the directories in that there's a dash there for the type. That means that it's a file, okay, rather than a directory. Has a size of 0, as you would expect, because it's an empty file that was just created. And you see the date is January 15th, 1233, which is indeed the current time. So there's our new file. There's nothing to see in the file, but we've created a file just so that we can play with it. I don't know, let's go ahead and make another one too. We'll make another one, and now you can see that that's there. By the way, hopefully you've noticed that you can access your command history at any time by using the up arrow, and you can also go back and modify any of these that you want. And yep, now I've got 3 files that I've created there. So accessing and modifying your command history is a really, really handy way, especially when commands start getting longer. You'll use that all the time. There are other ways to access history too, but we'll talk about those later. So for now then, I've got these 3 files right here. If I wanted to take a look at everything that starts with that, for instance, I'd see that I get a listing of all 3 files. And again, you can certainly do that to get more information about each one if you wanted to. So you can use symbols to filter. So if I said ls, how about ls-l, and we'll say Perry1, then I get all of the information just for the Perry1 file. But with the way that I did this, I use an asterisk, which basically means 0 or more additional characters. So 0 or more additional characters, whatever they are, will match that. I could also match the same thing like this. I could use a question mark. That matches exactly 1 other character. Here, let's say Perry, and we'll say question mark. How many am I going to get? I get 2, because there are only 2 that match that pattern. The one called Perry34 does not match the pattern of Perry followed by 1 other character, and I don't care what the character is. Perry1 and Perry2 both match that pattern. So the asterisk then means 0 or more other characters. The question mark means exactly 1 other character, whatever it is, okay, in the name. But we can use then the asterisk and the question mark in order to limit the things that are displayed for us. This can be extremely valuable when we have perhaps thousands of files and we're looking for files with certain names, maybe some certain log files or something like that. Okay, so this will be quite valuable later. There are also other ways to specify only particular files to be returned by ls, and if you look at the book, I'm in chapter 3, taking a look through this. Square brackets are also available. You probably want to be somewhat familiar with that also, how to pattern match using the square brackets. The next essential command that we need for manipulating files is learning how to copy files from one place to another, or to make copies even in place so that they're in the same directory. So the way we do that is with the cp command. The cp command is typed just like this, and we specify the source first and then the destination second. So I could copy Perry1 to Perry99 like so, and if I now get a listing of the files that are here, you'll see there's a new file, Perry 99. It will be identical in content to Perry 1. But if I get the long version, you will notice that it has a different timestamp than Perry 1. Perry 1 was created at 12:33. Perry 99 was created, or last modified, I should say, at 12:38, but that happens to be the create time, since there have been no modifications since that time on any of these files that we've created. But now we have an exact copy of Perry 1 at a certain point in time, which was the time that Perry 99 was created when our copy command was executed. How then do we copy into different directories? What I can do is, let's go into the documents directory and see what's in there, and the answer is nothing. There's nothing in there right now. So how would I get a copy of the Perry 1 file here into the documents directory? Well, we're going to use CP again, and there are several ways we could specify where that Perry 1 file is that we want to copy to this place. So first we have to have the source. What is the source going to be? Well, you know it's in the /home/Perry directory, so we could just use that, /home/Perry, and then within that directory we're looking for the file Perry 1. So that's the source. Where's the destination? How do I specify this directory? Well, I could say /home/Perry/documents. That would work, but I could also just do this. This refers to the current directory. Isn't it nice to have a shorthand like that? So there's one way to do it. And if I get a listing, I see that Perry 1 is there. The next command that I would like to have you be familiar with is the remove command. That's simply like this, RM for remove. If you're used to Windows operating systems, you're thinking DEL for delete. It's RM in Linux. So RM, and we'll say Perry 1, and now I do a listing and I see that it's not there anymore. Well, why did I want to remove it? Well, because I want to do it a different way now. Let's copy that here again, but let's use something a little bit shorter. So we could say /Perry 1, and then we want to copy that to here, and you see that it's there. And so now I'm going to go back and remove that again, verify that it's gone. There it is. How about another way? How about let's copy from parent directory of this, Perry 1, to the current directory. And we do a listing and we see that it's there. Okay, so let's remove that again. Again, you see there's nothing there. Let's copy more things. How about let's copy from the parent directory of this, anything that starts out PERR, okay, and let's copy that thing here, ls, and you see now I've got all 4 of them copied here. Now keep in mind, dot was used as the destination, but could also possibly be used as a source depending upon what you're trying to do. Let's take a look at the manual page for the copy command, and you see 3 possible different ways to use copy. We'll talk about those or see those in more detail really as we use them. That'll be just fine. But we'll take a look at a couple of the options that might be important here as I just page down. One of them, and this is mentioned in the book, I think it's really good, is the -I or interactive. What that does is if your copy command is going to result in one file overwriting another because they happen to have the same name and are going to the same place, then it will ask you before it overwrites. If you don't have the -I option there, then it will not actually ask you. The -N option just simply will not overwrite the existing file. So rather than asking you, it just doesn't do it. And so there are a few others here that are interesting, but those 2 in particular you probably want to be aware of. One thing you might have discovered by accident already, if you haven't, you would at some point, but I'd like to just explicitly tell you, this command line does, obviously it can get rather tedious typing very long commands into the command line, and it's easy to make errors when you do that, right? For example, we go back here and I can say CD documents, and of course I just mistyped it, and that isn't going to go anywhere. So since I'm such a terrible typist, this is really helpful for me. You can start to type something like so, and as long as you get enough to differentiate it from something else, you hit the tab key, and it will fill in the rest for you. So in other words, I hit D, if I hit tab, nothing's going to happen here. I just hit tab, nothing happened, okay? If I hit O, nothing happened. Why? Because I've got more than one thing that start with DO, but as soon as I say DOC, hit tab, it knows I want to change to documents, and so now I can just hit enter, okay? So that's very handy. So again, why did that not work before? Because I had both documents and downloads that both started with DO, so it didn't know which one I wanted. But notice there's a music directory here, so I could say CDM and just type tab, and it'll fill it in for me. So, you know, where that's really valuable, of course, is where we have a file name like that, okay? Yikes, that's really ugly, isn't it? So why don't we just RM, and I can type AL, say, and then hit tab. I get the whole file name there. You didn't want to type that whole thing out, did you? Me either.